Namaskaram, Sadhguru. On behalf of FICCI, Flow, which is FICCI's ladies organization, and Young FICCI, it's my honor to welcome you and to thank you for spending this time with us. As you know, I was privileged to be with you when you spoke to the healthcare professionals yesterday. As you know, across the world, it's not just the medical data and the economic things which are getting reported widely, but the mental agony that so many people are going through, whether it's fear or uncertainty of the future. So in times like this, all our members are extremely grateful to you for the opportunity to spend this time and gain strength from your knowledge and your insights. So thank you, Sadhguru. I will, a series of our senior members will be asking questions, but I'm going to start off with someone who I know that you have a special fondness for. So may I please call upon Dr. Pratap C. Reddy to ask the very first question. Dr. Reddy, please.
Namaskaram, Andi Reddy garu.
Our pranams from everybody in the healthcare and from the people in the country and the world. Sangeeta, I'm very happy. The FICCI members, the Flow members, all are here to listen to Sadhguru and take his blessings on times which you have never seen before. As a doctor in the last 65 years, I've never seen in health sector anything as what we are seeing today. You know, a small virus causing a pandemic across the 200 nations. Completely the entire systems have come to a halt. And all that I can say is the health sector is doing its very best, whether it's private or the public health systems. Our governments, led by our Prime Minister and the various chief ministers, have done tremendous initiatives to bring it to a halt and take this war head on. But whatever we see in India, we believe that we could contain this, that we are probably maybe a little bit ahead in bringing this lockdown, the various initiatives done by the government, as well as the cooperation from the large number of people. But still, we still don't know when the curve is going to dip down. Seeing about 2 million people have been already stuck. We lost more than 100,000 lives in the world. And India has also crossed the 4 lakh figure. But we needed this time. Yes, certainly we are all willing to work in healthcare. There are other supportive staff which are doing many things. The government is doing its best. But I think we need something beyond from you, Guruji, knowing you so well. In all circumstances, you have come out with, I would say, some outstanding, new, never thought of before solution. So what do you suggest now the people at large should do? Be the government, be the professionals, all of them, what can we do? Your assurance yesterday, the healthcare people are very, very thankful to you. I think many of them are giving their very best. And all of them have that feeling saying, we must do what we can to fight this war against COVID. We need your reassurance and what more steps can we take, Guruji? First, your blessings, of course, will make a big difference.
Namaskar, Mandi.
Namaskar.
Well, as you said, fortunately, the national leadership and also at the level of the states across the board have responded in a very resolute manner. If this sense of determination and resolute leadership, if we have through the years to come, I don't think we have to fear anything, we will bounce back if this is how we function. But largely, this has been our nation's history that we all come together and act resolutely only when there is a mortal threat to us. Otherwise, we function like we are 10 different nations at a time. This problem we must cross now, we must learn this from this virus situation that, coming together, how effectively we've managed this compared to any other nation. Nations which have much more infrastructure on all levels, including medical infrastructure, how they are suffering and how we have managed is incredibly good. But still our problems are not over yet. The rise could be in the next week or 15 days, probably in the next fortnight we will know how it'll go. And there are more concerns because people who have been infected and recovered, they're again going into new positive status again, once again, which is very worrying, so that we really not able to predict exactly when we will come out of it or how this virus will play out. This is leaving us in a quandary. So this must be solved, or this prediction or this assurance must can only come from the medical community, telling us exactly how the virus would behave post-infection, how would it behave. But right now there are big question marks about that in the last 3 to 4 days. Having said that, as far as the industry and business is concerned, whether it's individual citizens, small businesses, big businesses, startups, institutions, every one of us will take a hit, there is no question about it. How big a hit depends on how long this lockdown becomes compulsory, how long will it be absolutely necessary, uh, that will determine many things. But there are many positives also, in the sense, coming out of a situation like this, it's almost like rebuilding everything for many industries, many businesses. It's almost like rebuilding from the scratch. It may seem like that. But new possibilities are coming in many, many different ways, and probably this could be a turning point in the development of India. I don't see a negative picture, I see a very positive picture, because just yesterday, I think the Japanese Prime Minister has announced nearly $500 billion as incentives for all the Japanese companies to move out of China and establish their industry either in Japan or in other nations. In these other nations, we are a top priority. There are other nations like Vietnam, Cambodia, Malaysia and all this, but India is definitely standing first in that option. So, having said that, similar things will happen with United States in a different mode or in a different way of doing things, but similar things will happen, because this is a time that we have been behind China by 40 to 50 years almost, or at least 30 years, I would say, in many different ways. This is a time for us to catch up, this is a time to level that playing field in the next 3 to 5 years' time. So this is not a time for… I know these are difficult times, very challenging times for everybody. Well, there are many troubles, but I think in terms of you know, recharging the economic process, the government will do the necessary things, and it's important the industry and the business participates to ensure that the whatever incentives that the government puts in has to be substantial. Right now, the Japanese government is putting back 20% of the GDP back into the system to get this going. Do we have the same capability or not? That is something for the financial experts to look at. But definitely the maximum that we can do, we have to do, in terms of loans, in terms of interest, in terms of EMIs, in various other commitments that we have and we may fail to fulfill because of this lockdown, uh, should be put back, and to build back the markets. Markets may not come back for maybe, I don't know, maybe a year and a half it may take, 12 to 18 months it may take for many markets to come back, especially tourism, aviation, apparel industry, which is all important for India. It may take 12 to 18 months. But after such a long history of, as a nation, India has, as culture, we have thousands of years of history. We are not going to be obliterated in 12 months' time. We will bounce back with great resilience. We have to come back, and this is a great opportunity that we have been left behind in the economic development that has happened in Asia. leave the Western countries, if you look at Asia, the Chinese, the South Koreans, and even if you look at Malaysia and other things, where they are and how India has been, we've been sort of left behind. I think this is a great opportunity. In the next 3 to 5 years, we can level the playing field. That's how I see the prospects. So the industry and the industry leaders and business leaders should not go into a depressive mode. They must go into recalibrating everything. They must look at how the new possibilities will open up. We may not be able to sit back and operate the way we have operated all these years. We have to do a whole rethink of how we function. But where there is change, there is possibility. A forced change is always a tremendous possibility. So this virus situation, unfortunately, it's taking lives. Apart from that, as an economic possibility, there is a tremendous possibility, but definitely in the immediate future, there is a lot of pain. We have to bear with that. It's not something we can avoid.
This is a
Thank
great
you.
medicine. We don't have a medicine against the virus, but what you have said now, I think, is a great medicine for all of us, saying, yes, we can, and we'll withstand this and come back. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy, and thank you, Sadhguru. Next, I will call upon Mr. Y.K. Modi. He's one of the seniors of FICCI, one of our past presidents. Y.K. Modi, please.
Namaskaram, Sadhguru Ji.
Namaste. Namaskaram.
You have rightly mentioned about the problem. What will be very helpful is for people like me and many others who are mentally feeling down at this time, not only because they are staying at home, because of the uncertainty, not only of the business, but of the country. So how can you guide them spiritually to calm down from inside their heart and soul?
Being at home should not be such a big challenge. I don't know why people are making being at home such a big challenge. Ma, please don't make it so difficult for him.
No, it is not because of that.
Sadhguru, I've devoted my entire life to the family. I think YK will agree with that.
Yes. I'm not talking of myself only, general.
No, I understand. A whole lot of people are going through. Basically, it is not about being at home, probably for many people. It is the uncertainty. As I said, uncertainty means many things are open. So if we are that kind of people who will see the openings, then we see this as a great possibility. If we are that kind of people who are seeing any change as a big trouble, then of course it's a lot of trouble. I am not saying this is going to happen without any pain. There is going to be pain for everybody, no question about it. I think the most important thing is all of us should make sure we stay alive. That's the most important thing. And make sure everybody around us stays alive. If we do this one thing for this period, after that, the possibilities are there, many possibilities are there. The kind of possibilities that would have taken 25 years to open up in this country may open up in the next 3 years to 5 years' time. So, all business leaders should see how to exploit that. About individual levels of peacefulness and joyfulness that one has to do, we must understand where this question is coming from. This is not an individual question. Millions of people are asking the same question. What I would like to remind everybody is, see, what most of the time, 95% of the time in one's life, what people are suffering is not life as a process. Very rarely for people, something from outside really causes the trouble. Most of the time, they're suffering their own faculties. The significance of being human is, compared to any other creature, we have a very vivid sense of memory and a fantastic sense of imagination. So people have made themselves like this. They continuously suffer these special faculties that only human beings have. What makes us human What makes our life rich is this memory and imagination. But people are largely suffering these faculties. Something that happened 10 years ago, you're still suffering. What does it mean? Does it mean to say that you're suffering life or your own memory? You are able to suffer what may happen day after tomorrow or what will happen post-coronavirus. What does this mean? This does not mean you're suffering life, this means that you're suffering your own imagination. Two fantastic faculties that we have of memory and imagination, most human beings have made it into a source of suffering for themselves. This is what needs to change. If this has to change, a little bit of process is needed. There are various processes we have offered online, free of cost for everybody to practice at home. There is something called as Isha Kriya, which is a very simple thing that people should do. Very easily it will relieve you of this problem, that you don't suffer your own faculties. These are fantastic faculties which are unique to human beings. We must exercise them in a way that it will bring well-being to us. If our own hands start poking our eyeballs out, what is the way out? Right now, people don't need any help from outside. Their own mind is cutting them up all the time. And people think this is normal. This is not normal. This is simply because people have grown up and lived with the sort of education that has gone on in this country and in the world. We know how to fix everything in the world, but we don't know how to fix this one. This is the whole problem. We don't know how to use our own faculties. We don't know how to use our mind. We don't know how to keep our body. We don't know how to manage our emotions and energies and chemistry. Now, naturally, it'll bother us because this is the most sophisticated machine on the planet. This is the most sophisticated technology on the planet, but I'm asking how many have read their user's manual? By accident, they're trying to function with such a sophisticated machine and inevitably it'll cause trouble.
I think you've answered everybody's question very well, Guruji.
Thank you, Alkaji. Thank you, Sadhguru. May I next call upon Mrs. Rajshri Birla. She's a very senior member of the FICCI Council. She heads our CSR committee. She's been a tremendous support, especially in this time. Mrs. Rajshri Birla, please.
Namaskar, ma.
Namaskar, Pranam Sadhguru Ji. My question is, how do we improve our immunity system to protect ourselves from the coronavirus through spirituality?
To make sure that our immune system functions at its best, the most fundamental thing is if an individual human being remains very exuberant, energetic, joyful, naturally the system will function at a higher level. Well, people use this time when you've been taken… people were suffering, a lot of people were suffer their work, going to work, they say that is the reason why they're suffering stress and tension, whatever. Now they sit at home and they complain, that is the basis of their stress. This is a great time for you to build yourself up in a way that you will be fit for the life that you have to live. In the sense, if we have to make the immune system function well, there are many things. One thing is we can be a little more conscious about the food that we consume. Naturally, many of the foods that are particularly consumed in South India naturally enhance our immune system. At some point post this corona, if you make some kind of a research or a study, you will see that people consuming certain types of foods are naturally more resilient because immune system will function better. In the sense, if I have to say something about myself, just taking care of a few simple things. There are yogic practices which can greatly enhance the immune system, but that is not something that you can teach right away like this. But as a part of teaching something which will enhance the immune system, particularly for the medical community and the police and others who are constantly exposed, we have given out a simple process called Simha Kriya, which anybody can do. It just takes 12 minutes for you to practice. It is already on the app and everything. It is available, people can do. This will enhance one's immune system. Apart from this, the practice is such that let's say today you're able to do the practice well. After a week's time, you find you're not able to do it, even though you don't test positive, you don't have any other symptoms. The moment you can't do the practice, you know there is something wrong with your respiratory system. So it is also like a cross-check that if you are not able to do it, you clearly know that your respiratory system is not functioning the way it should. In terms of enhancing immune system for most people, the simple thing is 5 times a day. If you take warm water or hot water, put a little bit of turmeric, a little bit of honey and either coriander or mint in it and drink 5 times, 5 to 6 times a day, every 2 to 3 hours if you keep drinking, you will see immune system will function much better, and there are many other benefits to that also. I know there are a whole lot of people who will say, there is no scientific proof this will work and all this, but it worked wonderfully well for my great-grandmother, my grandmother and to myself. So, that is enough proof for me. I don't need proof from a laboratory. It's worked wonderfully well for generations of people.
Thank you so much.
Sadhguru, the FICCI Ladies Organization is one of the most vibrant parts of FICCI, and we have with us the president of FICCI Ladies Organization, Harjinder. Would you please like to ask your question?
Sadhguru Ji, Namaskaram. Sadhguru Ji, my question to you is, when the lockdown was announced, the vehicles went away, the industry was locked down, everything just went indoors. And people said, and everybody said, that Mother Earth was waiting to heal itself. What is your say about it? Was Mother Earth really wanting to heal itself? My second question is, if Mother Earth was waiting to heal itself, what is the role further for the women of this country you see, or everywhere globally, post the coronavirus, for mothers, for daughters, and for wives?
Well, one important thing or one correction that we need to make in human mind is, we have this thinking that there is nature and there is us. We don't understand. We are just as much nature as an ant or a grasshopper or an elephant or anything else. We are also part of it. Though we are behaving as if we are aliens, that's a different matter, but actually we are a part of this nature. Only when everything else does well, we will also really do well. Well, this turning off all the machines largely in the world, definitely it's having a serious and wonderful impact on the ecological structure of this world. If we have sense, I would say maybe right now if I say this, people will think that I'm adding insult to injury because so much hurt has happened to many people. But I would say, well, all the schools get 6 weeks, 8 weeks, summer holidays. I think entire humanity every year takes off 3 weeks. No machines, no automobiles, no industry, no nothing for 3 weeks. You can walk, you can cycle, you can trek, but no turning on of any kind of machine. If we do this 3 weeks and use these 3 weeks to upgrade ourselves, because if the world has to become better, better technology is not going to do that. Better machines are not going to do that. That will all enhance certain level of activity. If the world has to really become a wonderful place, human beings have to upgrade themselves. If we just aim at this, anyway another nearly 3 weeks are there for us in India. If all of us aim at this, 10% upgradation in our physical well-being, in our mental well-being, in our emotional structures, in our spiritual well-being, and in whatever activity we are doing in our competence, 10% improvement if we focus on this in these 3 weeks, and every year if we do this 10% increase, in 10 years' time we will be 100% better than what we are. This is the only way you can create a wonderful nation and a wonderful world, because without wonderful people, there is no wonderful world. You can create as much technology as you want, you can build as many buildings as you want, roads and bridges and airports you want, but still without wonderful people, there is no wonderful world, because we are the most, what to say, if we just continue as we are, I think as far as Mother Earth is concerned, she experiences us as we are experiencing this virus, as damaging, as threatening for her health and well-being. So this 3 weeks break, I wish we had done this consciously, but it's been forced upon us. Now that we have learned some lessons out of it, maybe every year we take 3 weeks break, entire humanity goes on a holiday for what we are doing and focus on ourselves, how we can be little better human beings than what we are right now, would do a tremendous job for… and also it would bring awareness into the next generation that this is needed. Without improving the basic sense of what sort of human beings we are, there is no question of upgrading humanity or the world.
And role for women, Sadhguru Ji, for…
All of us must strive to get this 3 weeks vacation every year, but not because of the virus, by ourselves, consciously. Because if we do not do certain things consciously, nature will do it to us in a very cruel way. Right now it's being done in a very cruel way. I only wish we could do these things consciously.
Thank you, Sadhguru Ji. Thank you.
Thank you, Sadhguru. Sadhguru, you've always given a tremendous emphasis and importance to the youth. We have representing young FICCI, a young person who's really very dynamic. Amulik Singh Bijral is the CEO and the founder of Chai Point. Amulik, you want to go ahead?
Namaskar, Sadhguru.
Namaskar.
So I have…
Chai Point, what is this Chai Point, huh? Chai.
Yes, so Sadhguru, we are a F&B chain centered around chai. We have stores, we do delivery, and we have dispensers. We are India's largest chain for chai.
Oh, you could be the next Prime Minister then.
So, Sadhguru, to my question, please. For a country like ours with such a rich diversity of cultures, what life principles would be essential for our prosperity as we start piecing the economy? What are the common threads or the common principles that you would advise for the full country as we start piecing up the opportunity around economy?
See, we are always trying to reduce life into a few points. This, if you do, everything will be fine. Or we are trying to make it into morals. Or in ancient times, they had all these, what do you call them, commandments. This is the significance of this culture, that there are no commandments here. Even when the so-called divine entities came, we only had debates. We did not allow them to give us commandments, because that is the nature of this culture, because we see that a commandment is a concretized idea which will not be relevant always. So when I say a debate, that means we are constantly looking at fresh possibilities. So what are the simple guidelines with which we can function? No, it's not by putting lines that we will function very well, by removing the lines that we have in our minds and hearts that we will function well. When we put guidelines, these lines will make us feel we are very organized and well for some time, but the same guidelines will limit us and discriminate against each other, and so many things will happen, ugly things will happen over a period of time. So this is what this nation and this culture represents, that we valued the seamlessness of human consciousness much more than morality, values, ethics, commandments. None of these are valuable in this culture. In this culture, the seamlessness of human consciousness, that is the fundamental nature of the human being is this. See, every other animal is kind of, programmed to set boundaries for itself. A human being also, when his or her survival process is threatened, will build walls and boundaries. But the moment the survival threat is gone, you will see every human being wants to extend their boundaries, whoever you are right now, you want to become little more than who you are right now. I know you want to sell your chai in South, but we are coffee people, okay? Don't ride on
We
me.
do a lot of coffee also, Sadhguru.
So once you have come as a human being, there is something within you which does not like boundaries. It doesn't matter how big you become, you want to be something more. So that something more that you want, if it happens right now, what? You want something more. So in installments, you're going towards something. So if I ask you, how much expansion will settle you for good? If you set up a choy point in moon, will you be finished with your ambition? No. You will want to set it up on sun also if it's possible, maybe cold chai. But if I allow you to set up across the solar system, will you stop? No, you want to set up in the galaxy. One galaxy will do? No. There is something within you which does not like boundaries. It wants to expand continuously. So essentially, you are longing to expand in a limitless way or in an infinite way, but you're approaching the infinite in installments. So this one fundamental, if it sinks into every one of us, that what we are looking for is not more, what we are looking for is all. We want everything, but we are going in installments. This constipated expression of human consciousness is called as ambition in the world. So you must move from ambition to vision, because ambition means it's your fanciful idea of what you should become. Vision means you have a larger picture as to what should happen to everything around you. If everybody moves from ambition to vision in this country, then our genius will unlock itself and we will do things that we have not imagined possible. Right now, this virus has brought disruption like nothing else till now. I think this is the time to unlock and unleash the human potential in this country.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Sadhguru. Lot for
Sadhguru.
me to ponder.
Thank you, Sadhguru, for all of us to ponder, I think. Sadhguru, we have with us Mr. Sudhir Jalan, another past president and a mentor for many of us. Sudhir Ji.
Namaskaram, Sadhguru.
Namaskaram.
You have given us very wise words of wisdom and also encouragement. As we all know, the world will change unrecognizably in the next few decades, whether it's be in the field of education, whether it's medicine, whether it's travel, whether it's communication. What advice will you give to seniors like Dr. Pratap Reddy, Rajeshri Birla, myself? How should we change ourselves in this dynamic age? We want to, we are young at heart, we are ever willing and are incorrigible optimists. Namaskar.
I do not know much about your travel schedules. Pratap Reddy Garu must reduce his travel. It's time for him to sit at home, enjoy himself, do the work, but I know he loves to do his work, but physical travel he must limit. For yourself also, sir. It's wonderful because today technology has allowed us the possibility that without actually physically moving all over the place, we are able to do our work. And those of you and those of all of us who have reached a certain age and well, there is a value to human experience like nothing else. So this experience has to nurture and guide the world. This is important that every one of us, in whatever field we are, after we cross 60, 65 years of age, it's not about we working, it's about mentoring the next generation to see that they will be able to function better than the way we functioned in our lives, because many of us had to figure out everything by ourselves. But the next generation need not go through that struggle if we stand up as that's a vulnerable segment, and post that, it is very important that their experience should ensure that the next generation need not reinvent the wheel once again on all aspects of life. The human experience should transmit itself to next generation and next generation. I think there is a serious break in uh, this aspect of generational passing of experience from one generation to another because of the education systems, the attitudes, and the modern way of living where there is no enough contact between two generations. I think you must stand up as mentors, not just for the family, but for everybody in your sphere of activity as mentors. Then, so the experience of life that all of you have is of immense value to the new generation, to the nation, and to the world.
Say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sadhguru. Sadhguru, our immediate past president, Mr. Sandeep Somani, is with us, and he's one of my colleagues and has, really helped shape a lot of what FICCI has done in the recent times. He's a hardcore industrialist, a very smart businessman. Sandeep, would you like to ask your question?
Sadhguru, Pranam. These are very difficult times, and none of us have ever a playbook for an experience like this. So, in fact, it is good to hear your comforting words, your words of encouragement to instill a greater sense of peace and calm, at least in the mind. Otherwise, as I said, these are very uncharted waters for every one of us. And not only do we fear in terms of health, but we also fear for the future of the business, which will be impacted very significantly for all kinds of business. My question is that, we hear different theories about the virus. What is your personal view of the way the Chinese are not supposed to have communicated to the world the urgency with which the rest of the world should have acted? A lot of people have said, had they given this advice 6 weeks ago, the human misery would have been much less. And the role of the WHO, which seemed to be quite ineffective in the initial days with a lot of politics also. So is our countries not liable for something as important, urgent, and life-threatening like this to be more transparent in the way that they work?
Well, when a nation is not a democratic country, it has its own systems. See, it is always very easy to do post-mortem of a situation and think why this was not done or that was not done. Any number of infections happen in a nation and many things happen within the country. Not always do you predict that it could become a pandemic till it actually happens. Suppose you do, you're a cry wolf and you cried pandemic, pandemic and nothing happened. That is also a problem. So, till it is confirmed, you don't want to scream that there is a great calamity coming. When it got confirmed in their own understanding of the situation, well, it's anybody's guess, we don't know. As far as they are concerned, they are saying as soon as it was clear to us, we have told you. So, it is not a situation, it is not a time to go about blaming this entity or that entity. This is a time to somehow handle this problem first. But it will have its consequences in various ways. Already, as I said, Japan has already given enormous incentives for their industries to move out of, those manufacturing hubs that they had there. US, I think, is doing similar things, and these two are the two major nations who are involved in the manufacturing hubs. This manufacturing hubs in significant part, and both of them are going in that direction. So it will have its consequences, but simply wanting to find a fall guy for this whole thing or a scapegoat, that we want to say it's because of these people that this happened, I don't think it's a right way to go, because this is something that's new to all of us. Nobody knew how it will go, we still don't know how it'll play out, all right? Even the best scientists in the world still have no clue how this is going to 100% play out. Because we said it will live on a cardboard only for 4 or 5 hours, on whatever different material this many hours. But now we have seen in Mysore that a package that came from China, which is more than 72 hours, uh, people have gotten infected by opening that package. So nobody knows. Every day we are changing our opinion on what this virus can do and cannot do. So having said that, right now, how to handle this? What's the solution? Especially the big concern in my mind, I think the medical Sangeeta and Dr. Reddy must be able to say more about this. In my mind, that people who were infected and came out of it and tested negative, now again testing positive after 2 weeks is one of the biggest concerns, because then it is not a cycle that will end, it may just go on and on with the same people. So how much damage it causes? Some of the people that I know in New York City, families who got infected, within 2 weeks they came out of it, but after 6 weeks, they're quite normal, there's no temperature, nothing, but their respiratory action has not come back to normal, they're still having problems of breath, they're not able to breathe. So even if you, let us say people are saying 60–70% of the population may get it, and after that, how fit will they be to work? How long will this damage remain in our lungs? Is it lifelong? Is it for a few years? What is going to happen? Is something that we are not clear about. So with so many ifs and buts, you cannot blame somebody that they did not tell you quick enough, because probably nobody knew till it happens, nobody estimates. It's just like if you get fever, somebody pops a pill and goes on till something serious happens to them. So this is the same thing for an entire nation also. But if there is something culpable, I think the world will act on that, that's a different matter. But right now it is in this guesswork of wasting our time and energy on that is not the point. Right now, we need to find a way so that as nations we become free from this pandemic.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sadhguru. Sadhguru, we have multiple people watching us online, and I have a question from Hema Mani, who's the head of HR of Lennox India. And Hema says that, Sadhguru, what is your advice to corporates right now? We're battling cost pressure on one hand because everybody says conserve cash, take care, we don't know what the future is. Yet on the other hand, we want to take care of our employees and we don't want to cut employees. So Hema Mani wants your guidance on that aspect of running the organization.
Well, there could be such a level of disruption for any industry, for any business. The talent that you hold in the form of your people who work for you, the human potential that you carry in your organization is very vital. Just because of 4 or 6 weeks of lockdown, if you drop those people, I think building back your business will become a serious challenge. It's very, very important that you hold on to the people. You can negotiate how much to pay, what to do, all these things depending on the type of business that you're doing. Feel that you let them down when they need you most. That's very important, because without the human potential, you building back the business quickly is not going to happen. And anyway, this break right now, as we know, it is 3 weeks plus 2 weeks, 5 weeks. It could be a little more in terms of lockdowns. But post-lockdown, the markets to come back, it may take months on end. So during these times, you will need people who will work for your business like their life depends on it. Otherwise, businesses will fail. So if you want them to work like this, you have to show in how many ways you are committed to their life. You have to show your commitment for their well-being. Then only you will get the response of they being committed to the well-being of the business. So this is very important. Every business, every industry in some way should keep in touch with their human potential that they hold and the human capital that they hold, and nurture that to whatever extent your finances allow, but every employee should feel that you are standing with them. This is very important. Without this, bouncing back will become very difficult.
Thank you, Sadhguru. We totally agree. Sadhguru, we have with us on the line the Secretary General of FICCI. So he is the one who really puts together all the information, runs the organization, and presidents come and go, but it's the secretariat. And I want to acknowledge we have an outstanding secretariat. It's they who really run the show. So Dilip Chinoy, would you like to ask your question?
Namaskar.
Thank you, President, and Sadhguru Pranam. At the beginning of the program, we heard your message to people where you championed the cause of staying at home and helping us fight this pandemic. But as we go to a situation where life comes back to normal, and even now in some cases where we want a large number of employees to come back to work because the areas are safe and production is required, there seems to be, to use a phrase that you used during the program, a line in their minds and hearts that it is not safe to come back to work and they should not venture out. So in these times, what would your advice be for corporates and society to encourage people to come back to work on farms where harvesting and sowing is required in other parts of the economy? And what and how could we communicate to them? And what would be your message to them?
Probably in the next 24 hours, the central government is going to announce which are the sectors which will be relaxed in terms of economic activity. Definitely agriculture is going to be one of them, I believe. So once that is done, I think people will feel more confident. We must understand that a whole lot of them, in crores of people are migrant, that is their homes are elsewhere, they're working elsewhere. To leave the family there and to come away to a new place, and again if you go on lockdown or something else happens, so there will be some hesitancy, naturally there will be some hesitation of taking this step. But that can only happen with a certain assurance from the government and the industry, and it will definitely not happen like overnight. It will take a gradual step. People will wait for things to happen. How normal will it get, or how the fatalities in the country rise? If the numbers rise in terms of infections and deaths, if that number rises big, like how it is happened in United States, daily over 2,000 people are beginning to die. If that kind of thing happens in India, then definitely the workforce will hesitate to come back, and they will try to find alternate means of employment or livelihoods and things like that, which is when the real damage happens to industry. That when the human resource starts looking for alternate, even if it's much less paying, somewhere close to their homes, they start looking for employment, that is going to be a much more longer-term damage that could happen, because most of the people who come and work in the cities, at least as labor and little above that, most of them have some small piece of land in their village and things like that. So if they start going back to agriculture, it is almost like moving a third of the nation's population towards poverty. And once they kind of settle into that, again getting them out of it is going to be a huge thing. So we hope the lockdown doesn't go too far, it doesn't become necessary to lock down for more and more. Right now we have not yet announced, but from what many states have already taken this position, they're going to lock down till end of April. Say 3 + 2, 5 weeks of lockdown is painful but not destructive. We should not think it's totally destroying everything. It is painful, but it's not destructive, so let's not exaggerate this in our minds. 5 weeks of closure is not going to destroy the nation's economy, it is going to hurt all of us, for sure. It is going to be painful, but it is not going to destroy us. But if it becomes longer and longer, then many dynamics in the society will start changing, people will start finding alternate ways to live. So when that begins to happen, then we kind of in our minds and in our activity, we kind of start settling for poverty. That will be a dangerous step. I hope it doesn't go there. I think if we effectively, if the lockdown is done very effectively for the next nearly 18 to 20 days, I believe we will come out of it pretty good. But there are concerns of reinfections, and to the same people, these concerns can only be addressed by the medical professionals.
So, thank you, Sadhguru. We have over 3,000 people watching online from different parts of the country and lots of questions pouring in. But I'm going to take one question which has come from Subrakant Panda, who's from Orissa. He's the head of our manufacturing sector. He says, should we see the virus as a disruption or an opportunity? An opportunity to reset and focus on what's important, which is health, family, etc. Over to you, Sadhguru.
It is definitely a disruption, but we don't have to think that disruption is not an opportunity. Disruption is always an opportunity. But are we agile enough? Are we brave enough? Are we competent enough to grab the opportunity? That is the question mark, and that question mark we must settle. Everybody who is leading any kind of business, small or big, it doesn't matter, we must gear ourselves and look at this in the next 2-3 weeks that we have. If what we are doing collapses in a certain way, what are the other ways we can flourish? This is something we must look at. It could be tough, but it could be challenging, but at the same time, I believe that it could be greatly enhancing for individual businesses and for the nation especially, because the world's business dynamics are definitely going to change, particularly in Asia. It is going to change, and that change we must ride. We must ride this wave. It may look like a destructive tsunami, but if you are a good wave rider, then tsunami is your dream. And this could be, in my opinion, I would say, this is an opportunity of lifetime for our generation. It is just that we have to ensure that our fatalities are contained, that we control over that we manage. I think this is an opportunity of lifetime, because there are going to be great changes in the way business is being done in the world, and what is considered a dominant force and what is considered not so dominant. All these things are changing. This is the time for us to position ourselves as a nation and as businesses into the right place. There are a million opportunities opening up because of this, and I think the nations, the top nations in the world are taking steps, already beginning to take steps, and take many more steps in the few months as more information flows out as to how this whole thing, virus thing, played out in the world, its source, how it played out, what happened. When all these things come out, I think the way business is being done and the governments which are behind the large economies are going to look at India as a very favorable nation. We have to get our act together. Like right now, the way the central government and the state governments, how agile and effective they have become, if all of them remain like this, and the industry and the business and the entrepreneurs all ready for the game, I think there is a tremendous opportunity.
Thank you, Sadhguru. It feels really good to hear you say that, because it's kind of like the light at the end of the tunnel, or it gives us strength in this really difficult time.
One thing about honestly, the light at the end of the tunnel, Sangeeta,
yes,
let me say this. This happened one day. Shankaran Pillai was into farming, and he had his truck really loaded with vegetables, and he drove into the tunnel, a long tunnel. And he saw the other end of the tunnel was just a small hole. He said, no way I can drive my truck through that small hole, and he backed up. Let's not back up. What is far away always looks like a small hole, but when you get there, it'll be fine.
Thank you so much, Sadhguru. It wouldn't have been perfect if you hadn't given us at least one story. So we heard your favorite Shankran Pillai. And honestly, Sadhguru, FICCI is also of the very same opinion that there's a very difficult time right now concerning, the lives and the health of people. There's a significant impact on livelihoods, the economy, the decision-making. But in a 12 to 24-month period, if we do this right, and if we reset what you spoke about, that partnership between government and private, and not thinking that we're on different sides of the game, if we do some of these things right, we completely agree with you that it could be the beginning of a new era for India, a stronger position. The geopolitical realignments which could happen should be in our favor. And we believe as business that we should position ourselves for that. Sadhguru, your reputation, your experience with World Economic Forum and working with multiple business leaders have all shown, as well as your deep, spirituality and how evolved you are as a person. It's been a tremendous source of strength and courage to hear you. I'm tempted to ask a very simple question, and that is, when will you be with us next, Sadhguru?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now, Sadhguru. Please
No,
go ahead.
you mentioned one thing, Sangeeta, about the geopolitical alignment. See, the two major economies, which is United States, along with that goes UK in many ways now, and Japan, who have major manufacturing hubs in China, both of them are seriously rethinking, not just rethinking, they've already decided, and Japan has already put money behind it. So changes are going to happen, fueled by these two great economies. And fortunately, at the level of national leadership, there is a very good alignment between the leadership of these three nations, very close alignment. I think we need to exploit that and make sure that this becomes a huge economic opportunity. There's a very good alignment between our Prime Minister and the Japanese Prime Minister, and a pretty good alignment between our Prime Minister and President Trump. I think we need to make use of that. This is the time to use this friendship for the well-being of this nation, and also a kind of security for their economies, which we must offer.
Thank you, Sadhguru. I think we will definitely align and try and do our very best on all these counts. On behalf of everyone at FICCI, I would just like to say thank you very, very much.
Namaskaram, thank you very much.
The second part of my question, Sadhguru, was very simple. Like I said, when do we see you again? I had hoped to have you, Channa.
So, every day between 6 and 6:40, I am available on the darshan. Please feel free to be there. We will come back to you sometime. Thank you.
Yes, look forward to seeing you in person. On behalf of everyone, thank you very much, Sadhguru. They say that, Indian enlightened gurus are prophetic in their words. So your prophetic words about the future of India will give us a lot of strength as we fight through the next few weeks. Thank you very much, Sadhguru. Namaskaram.